Alright, I thought maybe I would go into a little bit more agonizing detail into why my solution for the three indistinguishable dice problem is not a physical solution. Okay? So, when you throw a die, right? When you roll dice, what you read is, in a sense, determined physically. Okay? This is undeniable. But we're okay with that. We're expecting that the face of the die, which is furthest from the reference plane, will be the one that we read. We're not reading any of the sides. We're not reading the one that's facing north or east or the one on the bottom. We're reading this one. Okay? So our physical coordinate system is giving us an ability to read the die. Okay? A dice just floating in space are unreadable. We have to have a physical coordinate system. Okay. Now, what the ball is showing us is official RBU league or R8U, whatever the hell, official league, whatever. And now it's the little dude, and now it's nothing, and now it's China something, you know, right? Rawlings, okay. Right. We have to have a coordinate system. This is our 0. This is positive. The face that ends up being most positive is the one that we read. Okay? We're not considering that to be physical. Okay? Because nothing, there's no deformations, there's no alterations, there's no markings that are occurring on anything. We're not modifying anything. It's just how the thing lands physically in space. Okay? And we're establishing a standard coordinate system in space to be able to read the dice however they land. Okay? My solution to the three indistinguishable dice problem is identical. I've just added 2 more dimensions to our reference space. Okay? So here, it's effectively one-dimensional, right? Because we're just looking at, we have a rest location, and then we're looking at the most positive above that. That's the face that we read. Okay? So what I'm doing here is I am adding the 2 extra dimensions provided by the dice thrower. So we're interested in the side that's closest to the dice thrower, and we're interested in the relative right and left of the dice thrower. But it's still just a coordinate system. It's just an extension of our coordinate system. And then all of the readings that we're taking are based simply on that. Okay? We're looking at the dice that we're considering first is the one furthest away, most to the left. Okay? That's our first dice of the 2 that we want of the 3. Okay? And then the second will be the other one, the one that is next, furthest away, and furthest to the left. That's it. It operates exactly the same way as being able to read the dice in the first place. It is no more physical than that. And notably, a typical simulation of this situation in a computer is actually more physical. Or you lose indistinguishability, right? Like I noted before, if we're just outputting 3 random numbers, okay? Also, you need coordinate systems. If we're just outputting 3 random numbers, well, that first one is always the first one. The second one is always the second one. The third one is always the third one. They're not indistinguishable entirely. Okay? To make it properly indistinguishable, that number has to be generated in a separate object, one of 3 objects, and then which of those 3 objects is chosen to be the first one is then randomly selected, and which is the second is then randomly selected, and then the third is determined by what already happened. Otherwise, they're not indistinguishable, right? Because the first one is always the first one. But there's also a coordinate system, right? Because we're looking at integers from 1 to 6. That's your coordinate system. If I change it from all real numbers from 0 to 7, well, now I can get values like 3.268. What the hell does that mean? That's not a number I can roll with a dice, right? So your simulation has to have a coordinate system as well. A multi-dimensional coordinate system, frankly. So the fact that I'm introducing extra dimensions to the physical coordinate system, that doesn't make it any more physical, because there was already a physical coordinate system that we're referencing, and we're not considering that physical. It's not a physical solution because there's a physical coordinate system. What the only reasonable interpretation of physical solutions to this puzzle is alterations, deformation, marking, things like that. Anything else, if all I'm doing is establishing a coordinate system, that's not a physical solution, reasonably. Because if that qualifies as a physical solution, then we have to be able to now suddenly be able to roll die in space. How do you read when you, so say you're like, say you're on ISS or something and you have a die and you just kind of throw it and it's tumbling. What number is it reading? What number did you throw? The question doesn't make sense because it has to come to rest with respect to a surface, and the face that is furthest from that surface is the one that you read. If that does not qualify as physical, then my solution to the three indistinguishable dice puzzle is also not physical. It is purely mathematical, in as much as being able to read a die in the first place is. I think my biggest failing is that I trusted people to recognize these obvious truths on their own instead of explaining them all, because people are fucking stupid. And basic shit like this, you have to explain it in agonizing detail for people to ever understand, because they don't have a brain in their head. They were never taught to think critically. They were never taught to understand. They were just taught, oh, well, this is true because somebody told me. This is true because somebody told me. This is true because somebody told me. And then, oh my God. Oy.